We are all connected in the great circle of life.
Walt Disney Pictures presents its all-new 30-second full-length animated motion picture, The Lion King.
Welcome to the Real Buffs Podcast. I'm your host, Charlie.
And I'm Matt, a.k.a. Pumbaa's disciple.
Why'd you choose Pumbaa, not Timon?
Because Pumbaa, I don't know, I was fat growing up, and Pumbaa loves to eat, and he just loves singing, and he's just got no worries, and something about Pumbaa always spoke to me.
You just like to fart. Don't say...
I mean, as I get older, I find I can't tolerate gluten and dairy like I used to.
It's just one of those things, man. You get into your 30s a little bit more. The gassiness hits a little bit harder than it used to. You're also less embarrassed about it, too. You just like
less
let it fly. I get it.
Don't care. Barnes & Noble, gonna let it rip. When I was a young warthog, I could tolerate anything. Now, I'm a spry warthog, if you will.
This week on The Real Buffs, we are doing the 1994 Disney classic film, The Lion King. I'm excited to do this one. This is, obviously it's celebrating its 30th anniversary. It's so crazy that it's 30. I know we do this a lot because guess what? We do episodes that coincide with maybe an anniversary that it came out and stuff. But shit, man, like I can still remember this being in theaters. I know I'm probably aging myself a little bit more than you too. I don't know if you do, but I remember this. I remember going to see it in theaters as a kid. It was such an event. It was awesome.
I was almost 4 years old, so it came out summer of '94. Yeah, I was almost 4 years old, so I don't fully remember seeing it in theaters. However, kids, VHS was actually a thing, and I ran that VHS dry, just rewinding, constantly watching. Man, I had all the toys back when McDonald's, Burger King, or whatever it was had the toys, and this movie was on all of the time, dude. It is so steeped into who I am as a movie lover, as an animator lover, as just well-rounded story lover, and just the things that they do with this film. It holds up today, and I just can't wait to talk about this movie. It's one of the best movies ever created, hands down.
Yeah, part of that 90s Disney renaissance too, with well, I guess technically Little Mermaid, I think it was 89, so
yeah,
not 90s, but still part of that Disney renaissance where you had this, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and then obviously Little Mermaid and Lion King,
Toy Story,
and then
Toy Story was another one.
Toy Story,
and
yeah.
Hercules, which Hercules is probably one of my second favorite Disney movie of all time. So these all came out in the 90s, and I would argue that these 90s Disney movies crafted the Disney kids mix that you listen in the car today with your kids. If they're looking for songs, 99% of them are going to be Phil Collins, Tarzan, and Hercules, and Lion King. And so we had the Little Mermaid, but I would say the 90s really kicked in the musical numbers that these movies brought in.
Yeah, and you had some big time artists doing it. And obviously with this film, you have Elton John, who, spoiler alert for when we get into the awards, but he ends up winning the Oscar for one of his songs. Yeah. He's nominated for a few. But yeah, you've got Elton John doing this one. I believe for when you're talking about Tarzan, you got Phil Collins, which is I would say is the best Disney soundtrack by far.
Dude, his soundtrack for Tarzan is absolutely insane. It didn't need to go as hard as it did, but when they said, Phil, come on in and do this, Phil was like, all right, I'm sparing no expense. I'm leaving nothing on the table. He just went for it. Dude, certified gold, platinum, whatever you want to call it. Amazing.
Diamond. That's the real one. That's Taylor Swift levels right there when you go diamond.
Yes.
But yeah, this is an awesome movie, and we're big fans of it. Shocker, we're going to be doing back-to-back movies where we're big fans of the movie. So, directed by Roger Ellers and Rob Minkoff, written by Irene Mecchi, Jonathan Rober, and Linda Wolverton. Obviously, starring Matthew Broderick as the older Simba. We got JTT as the young Simba.
JTT, man, he was
little
a
throwback.
heartthrob back then.
I know. Him and Devon Sawa were like the two big heartthrobs back in. Jeremy Irons as Scar. James Earl Jones as Mufasa. Moira Kelly as Nala. And Nikita Kalame as young Nala. And then you got obviously Nathan Lane as Timon. I mean, and Rowan Atkinson as Zazu. It's such a great
Mr.
cast.
Bean, dude.
Yeah.
Mr. Bean as Zazu. Oh my gosh. And like Jeremy Irons is one that like I always forget because he blends so well. And then you hear his voice. You're like, here's a guy that I've never actually seen young either. Like Jeremy Irons has always looked the same to me in my head. And so I'm just picturing him as his older self today, like just absolutely hammering out lines in the studio for Scar.
He was born a 40-year-old man. Like, that's just a fact.
He's like Steve Martin. So
yeah, exactly. Steve Martin's been 40. He's now 60. Still kind of looks the same, though. Yeah, exactly. He's definitely older than 60, by the way. I don't know why I said
I think he's
60.
like pushing 80 or
I'm
something
like,
that.
He's definitely older than that, but whatever.
But no, he still looks like he's 60. Never. Screw it.
He looks good for his age either way. So that's obviously, we're big fans. We're doing this movie. It's celebrating its 30th anniversary. June 15th, too, and it's June 19th. Happy Juneteenth to everybody, too.
Yes.
Let's dive into the Chat GPT summary. The Lion King is a 1994 animated musical film produced by Walt Disney Feature Animation. The story takes place in Pride Lands of Africa and follows the journey of the young lion named Simba. Simba, the newborn cub of King Mufasa and Queen Sarabi, is introduced to the animal kingdom, establishing him as the future king. Mufasa teaches Simba about the circle of life and the responsibilities of being king. Scar, Mufasa's brother, envies Simba's future role as king, plotting to take over the throne. Scar devises a plan to kill Mufasa and Simba. Scar lures Simba into a gorge and orchestrates a wildebeest stampede. Mufasa rescues Simba, but is killed by Scar. Scar convinces Simba that he is responsible for his father's death and urges him to flee. Scar becomes king, leading Pride Lands into ruin. Simba escapes and is found by Timon and Pumbaa, a meerkat and a warthog duo who live carefree life. They teach Simba their philosophy, Hakuna Matata, means no worries, shocker. And he grows up in the jungle, distancing himself from his past. Simba's childhood friend Nala finds him and urges him to return to the Pride Lands, which are suffering under Scar's rule. Initially hesitant, Simba receives guidance from Rafiki, a wise mandrill, and a vision of Mufasa, inspiring him to face his past. Simba returns to the Pride Lands, confronts Scar, and learns the truth about his father's death. A battle ensues, and Simba defeats Scar, who is ultimately killed by the hyenas he betrayed.
Such a gnarly scene.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Simba takes his place as the rightful king, bringing peace and prosperity back to the Pride Lands. The film concludes with the presentation of Simba and Nala's newborn cub, continuing the circle of life. The Lion King explores themes of responsibility, the battle between good and evil, family, and self-discovery. It emphasizes the importance of facing one's past and the duties of leadership. The film features an acclaimed soundtrack by Hans Zimmer, and with songs by Elton John and Tim Rice, including classics like Circle of Life, Hakuna Matata, and Can You Feel the Love Tonight. The Lion King received widespread acclaim for its story, animation, and music, leading to a successful franchise with sequels, a Broadway adaptation, and a 2019 remake. It remains a beloved classic for audiences of all ages. Yeah, it really is. And also, we'll dive into this, but, maybe a little familiar story for some of those Shakespeare fans out there like myself.
Well, actually, so I've got some notes about this.
Okay.
All right. So there's actually inspiration from Shakespeare's Hamlet. However, there are also elements of the Osirian family myths of ancient Egyptian mythology in this. In that, the king, Mufasa/Osiris, is killed by his jealous brother, Scar/Seth, and the rightful heir, Simba or Horus, is sent into exile as a boy. The murdered king visits and mentors his son in ghostly visits, and when the heir comes of age, he returns to exact revenge of his father's murderer. Now, I also have some more fun facts about the translations from Swahili. So, the opening song from this, like the very first song you hear, the translation is actually kind of funny. It's translated from Zulu, and it says, "Here comes a lion, father, oh yes, it's a lion we're going to conquer, a lion, and a leopard come to this open place." That's the opening number. That's what that means, like that. Savannah.
Really?
That's literally the translation right there. Yep.
Okay,
from,
that's really cool.
Zulu. And then Hakuna Matata translates from Swahili to no trouble, actually. And Simba means lion, Rafiki friend, Pumbaa is a muse. So yeah, it was just like kind of fun digging into like what the meanings of the names and stuff were, and like what the actual translation was. But you're right, like 100%, this is a Shakespearean play, dude. It hands down.
Well, I mean, that's so many like great writings can be taken from Shakespeare, and obviously Shakespeare borrowed from people before him. So it's just one of those things where you look at stories and the similarities. It's all right there. And there's some great similarities. Like I'm glad you had some, some of this stuff based on where was it from? You said the song was Zulu, but I feel like you said it was from somewhere else, right? So
some of the translations of the names were translated from Swahili.
Okay,
whereas
Swahili,
the opening song, like the first sound you actually hear in this movie was actually the very first take, and it was done in one take. And the opening song is from Zulu. Yeah. It's translated from Zulu. So that was pretty cool. And like takes from, Hamlet, but also like the Egyptian mythologies as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool because it also, I mean, it shows like the universality of some of the themes, and obviously with Shakespeare, because even Shakespeare with Hamlet borrows from like a Norse mythology story about Amleth.
Yeah.
I mean, they actually made that movie. I don't know if you've seen it too, and we might talk about it in a little bit, but The Northman with
that movie's so good. Yes.
Yeah.
With the Skarsgård. Yes, Alex Skarsgård. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching it, and I'm like, they call him Amleth, and I'm like, oh, this is it. I'm like, this is pretty dope, actually. I'm into this. But anyways, it just speaks to the universality of a story like this, and how it can be so universally loved across all cultures and translate well to all cultures too. So I love it. Let's dive into this question. Is this the best Disney film in the decade, though? Because we talked about it. This is a fucking steep decade for Disney. It's sort of like the Disney Renaissance with the musicals that they had, obviously starting with what's it called? The Little Mermaid. And then obviously we get into the decade of Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Muppets Christmas Carol, which is an underrated one, Tarzan, Mulan, Hercules, and then obviously the Pixar movies start. So you've got Toy Story, Toy Story 2, and then don't sleep on some of the other live action Disney stuff they do. And these aren't necessarily musicals, but good Disney films like The Mighty Ducks and Hocus Pocus, and Heavyweights is a great Disney comedy.
Yes.
So, I mean, I don't know. This is easily got to be like, it's got to be top three for most people.
I'm going to call it, I would say, yes, it is the best Disney movie of the decade, hands down, perhaps of all time. You just can't beat it. It's one that, like, no matter how many times you've seen it, the scenes with Mufasa, like, it still invokes emotion. All these 30 years later, you put this on, you're still going to feel that emotion of Simba telling his dad to wake up, get up, dad, wake up. And then like the night before, especially as a parent now, it's different because I was sitting there watching it with the kids, and there's that scene where Simba and Mufasa are laying there after, Mufasa rescues Nala and Simba from going down to the Badlands area. And he's talking about how he loves being his dad and Simba loves hanging out with him. And just like as a parent, it hits even harder knowing that like you go from this like really heartfelt scene and then his dad fucking just dies. And you're just like, damn. Yeah, it hits. And the music numbers still, man, anytime you hear any of these musical numbers, you sing along in some regard. I don't care if you're in the car and this comes on. I don't care if you're in public. Like, you cannot help yourself. Play this at like a karaoke bar and you'll have the entire place singing in a heartbeat, guaranteed.
Yeah. I mean, and the musical numbers are amazing. Like you talk about, I Just Can't Wait to Be King. It starts off with the fucking Circle of Life, which is like, oh my God, that always hits me. And yes. I guess you're right. Like, So is that what I get to look forward to now? Is just being crushed by this movie
Oh, yeah.
after little baby McLeod is on the way?
Oh, dude, trust me, you're going to watch some of these movies that we've loved growing up, and you're going to see a lot of them in a whole other light as a parent. And then you're just going to like, I get it now.
Oh,
I
okay.
get it.
All right, so I've got that to look forward to, which is nice. But anyways, I mean, this is it's one of those where I can't argue with like its pedigree in what it means to Disney. I think what it means to film, it's meant to us as a culture. It's been such a big movie. Just not even like, obviously it was big at this time. Like, we'll talk about like the box office success that it had and everything. But it's been such a big part of the culture even since then, because like you said, in the 90s, things were a little bit different. Like, media was a little bit different. Movies were more important. So when you had this big release, you always had the McDonald's toys, and those were important to you as a kid. Like, you would go and get them. I myself would go and get one. I remember specifically, and this wasn't even a toy, I remember seeing a Jurassic Park cup from McDonald's on the street, and I was like, it was a plastic one. I knew it was a hard one, and I was on it was like some sort of field trip or something like that in kindergarten, and I saw it and I was like, I gotta have that. And I don't know what our teacher was doing. I think she had us all like on a rope. It was basically like a chain gang rope to keep us all together.
Yeah,
and I just saw it and I ran to grab it real quick, and I definitely yanked a few people with me, but I was like, I gave it, I like had it in my house for the longest time, and it was actually like a cup of Nedry before he gets killed by the Dilophosaurus. So it was cool.
Yeah.
So it just, I remember the Disney toys with this. I believe my brother had, like, for his third birthday, it was like Lion King centric. So he had all the toys, and it carried on so much. I mean, obviously they do the Broadway play, and I think that gives another life into it. Now we're in the era of Hollywood not taking risks and doing sequels and remakes and all of that. And obviously they had sequels before that. I think most of them were straight to the video anyway, though. That was sort of that Disney
Lion
era
King
of
1.5, man.
Yeah. There was like I remember Aladdin 2, The Return of Jafar or something like that. And this probably had a couple bad ones too. But so and then they obviously do the remake in 2019, which, by the way, I didn't see, and I heard it was decent.
I couldn't get into it,
but
just because
it's just like I didn't need it. Like I just didn't need it. It was fine as is. And then I love
some things just should never be touched. Honestly, like some films just don't need to be touched. And the way that the real life aspect of these I don't know, something like that didn't work. I don't care about like the voices, or I didn't care about that. It was more of just the way it was animated and stuff. I'm just like, I don't need it. I've got this right here. Why would I go for this when I've got the Ferrari in the garage?
Yeah. I mean, I would say I was less offended by this one, and more so by Aladdin and having Will Smith play the genie, because I'm like, dude.
Okay, but that movie is actually pretty decent.
All right, but I'm sorry, man. Like, you cannot replace Robin Williams. Like, you just can't.
Oh, well, no, absolutely.
Like,
especially with Will Smith, who's been on a downward spiral anyway.
Well, this is pre-slap, all right? But anyways. Like, I'm trying to see him, like, that he's reviving his career with Bad Boys and everything like that. I'm like, dude, I just don't want anything to do with you anymore. Like, like, we just saw how much of a fraud you are.
I'm there too. I'm sadly there too.
Yeah, it's like, all right, man, cool. Anyways, I digress. It's such an important part of the culture. So for me, it's top 3, and I'll give you my 2 I have ahead of it, and it's just more personal for me. I think Toy Story is number 1 for me. It kicked off Pixar in a whole new style of animation and quality movie making that has lasted us for 30 years now with Pixar, and has given Disney new life. I think the importance of Pixar to film is more long lasting than The Lion King. So that's why I put, and Toy Story is what drove that. So that's why I put Toy Story ahead of it. And then personally, I personally just have more of an affinity for Aladdin. And it's probably to do with Robin Williams and his amazing voice acting. Not to say that the voice actors in this aren't amazing, like James Earl Jones, Jeremy Irons, who is, God, just perfect as Scar.
Yes.
It's just, yeah, it's a little bit different. So it's more of a personal thing. It's not diminishing. Lion King's a strong third. Like,
I mean, there's really that's like Hercules, man. Honestly, like I love Hercules, and that's probably like my 1B. Some days I love Hercules the most. My favorite, my favorite Disney movie, just for various reasons. And some days it is Lion King. So like really, with all these movies right there, especially the '90s ones, there really is no wrong answer because they went on an absolute tear with these movies. Like you said, Aladdin, Hercules. Pixar Studios came up with Toy Story, and it's just like, those are the movies that made us in the 90s. Like, I hate to be that boomer that's like, well, they just don't make movies like this anymore. But honestly, though, like, look at the recent decade of movies. They really don't hold up. I would say there's not like maybe like Frozen for my kids, but my kids were born like after Frozen initially came out. But even that doesn't really hold a candle, in my opinion, to like the 90s stock of Disney products that were just coming out at this point. Because go to Disney World today, go to downtown Disney, any Disney store, and you're still going to see those 90s products. There's still a whole Toy Story land at Disney. There's all of that. And they have like a small little Frozen thing. They have like a small little Ratatouille, but like Toy Story has its own land. You're still seeing the Lion King merch absolutely everywhere being made and printed. Like all of those Mulan still very heavily there. It is like these movies, just nothing can touch the absolute heater that they went on with these movies.
Yeah, it was such a great run and good for us. Cause it like you said, it was when we grew up and part of our childhood. And I'm so glad that, I'm glad I wasn't born in the 70s having to deal with like those runs of
Grandma
movies.
blowing cigarettes, smoke in my face.
Yeah, I know, right? That too, secondhand smoke and all that. Had enough of that in the 90s, actually, or 80s and 90s. So, yeah, man, it was a great time to grow up with all these amazing movies. And also movies meant more. Going to the movies meant more. Go to the fucking movies, people, as we like to say here.
Yes, go to the fucking movies,
Go to the fucking movies. All right, but looking past this, and let's look at some of the awesome Shakespeare adaptations, because I think this has a case for best Shakespeare adaptation. I mean, you obviously, like, there are just the traditional, like, straightforward ones. Like, you got the Laurence Olivier ones, which are always good. Laurence Olivier and Shakespeare kind of come hand in hand with Shakespeare in film. So, like, when he does Hamlet or Richard III,
Yeah.
or but then you have some of the other ones where Throne of Blood, which I don't know if you've ever seen, but it's based on Macbeth, and it's the samurai adaptation by Kurosawa. It's fucking dope. So
I have not seen that one. That sounds pretty cool.
yeah, dude. So if you can deal with like older movies and the the subtitles and everything, it's one of the best Kurosawa films too. It's awesome. Chimes at Midnight, Orson Welles. So I believe that is a Henry V Henry IV adaptation. But then you got even the other ones. You've got 10 Things I Hate About You. Do you know which?
I love that movie.
Yeah. Do you know which Shakespeare that's an adaptation of?
I don't. I knew it. Okay, I remember in high school we learned this, but I don't remember what it is. It's kind of long forgotten.
It's Taming of the Shrew.
Oh.
Yeah.
I absolutely love this movie much.
Oh, we'll do this movie. So trust me, we will. It's that 99 year, man. They've got some heaters that year. Best year of film, arguably the best year of film ever. We'll talk about that later. Romeo and Juliet, the one with DiCaprio. Yeah, that one's a pretty good one as well. I like that. And then you've got My Own Private Idaho, which is another like loose adaptation, very different. I think again it's Henry V. I don't know. I have to double check that, but
I haven't seen this one either. But
it's Gus Van Sant, and it's got River Phoenix, R.I.P. And I know, yeah. Anytime I hear his name, I'm just like, anyways, River Phoenix and Keanu's in it. It's an indie flick.
I have heard of it.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah. No, I know. Yeah. No, I've heard of it. I've just never seen it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty good. I actually like it a lot. But yeah, man, I think this has got a case for probably one of the best. Oh, and dude, I left out the big one, West Side Story, which is
Oh my
obviously
God, yeah.
Romeo and Juliet. So
It is, yes.
I would say this has a case to be the best. I mean, I think it personally, it's my favorite. Actually, maybe 10 Things I Hate About You is probably my favorite. So
I would still go with this one, but 10 Things I Hate About You is right there. It itches that rom-coms, scratches the rom-com itch whenever I kind of get it. It's one that I've rewatched a ton.
yeah, it is. It's a great movie. And it's funny. And it's got a great cast. And I love it. Love it. Anyways,
Same.
yeah, this is probably one of my favorite Shakespeare adaptations in film. That's always a little bit. It's a little bit different than a straightforward adaptation like Laurence Olivier's Hamlet or something like that. So I like that. All right, let's dive into the production notes. So most of the stuff that I found comes from an article in The Ringer. So production initially began in 1988, but a few years later, the movie saw a change in leadership with Allers and Minkoff taking over from George Scribner. Simultaneously, Pocahontas entered production. So that drew away Disney's most seasoned animators, and consequently, The Lion King was left with a team of inexperienced artists, leading to like a friendly rivalry between the two creative groups. It's funny to think that Pocahontas, which, surprisingly enough, I left off the list of best Disney films of the 90s. It's still a good one, but
It is. I don't think it's
not on this level.
I don't think it's no, I agree.
Yeah, so it's interesting though that top animators went over that way. I guess they maybe saw more potential with it, but I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. In an interview, Jeffrey Katzenberg, who was Disney's leading motion pictures division at the time, he was leading that. He boasted about Pocahontas' potential, barely mentioning The Lion King. Artistic coordinator Randy Fuller recalled, "Everyone thought that was awful. It felt like, wait, are we like second-class citizens?" So production designer Chris Sanders, remember Katzenberg saying that The Lion King was likely not a very, very big film, but don't feel bad because you're still part of the team and it's a beautiful film. So it's kind of weird that they thought it was just not going to be that. But I think as we read here, they quickly realized like it's a little bit different. So
Yeah.
They were motivated by it, basically. They were motivated by being the stepchild. The creative team embraced the challenge. There was a healthy competitiveness. Artistic supervisor Daniel St. Pierre remembers working on the B picture with no established expectations, like gave us freedom. Many novice artists and animal enthusiasts were given opportunities to become like lead character animators, while Ehlers and Minkoff adapted as first-time directors, assembling the story and the visuals for 2 years. Like they were like pushing a boulder uphill, basically, for what they say. Early in the process, the filmmakers spread out all artwork. They were considering on the floor. Hoping for inspiration. The most striking images from Hans Baker, I believe it's pronounced Baker, who had created numerous like thumbnails reminiscent of like National Geographic photography. He influenced he was influenced by the epics of John Ford and David Lean. Minkoff aimed to like capture that similar realism, and you can see that in the beginning sequence. Like the Circle of Life sequence just feels so realistic. When you go to different sequences in the film, like it has a different feel to it. So blending that with the spirit and the vastness of American westerns, but set in the backdrop of the African savannah. That was what they were going for. So to help realize these visions, Andy Gaskill, art director, created storyboards beginning with the Circle of Life and depicted the concept of Pride Rock, which immediately impressed Minkoff. Earlier sketches showed dull, round rock formations. It lacked like sort of unique environment for the lions. Andy started sketching ideas and drew something resembling the Titanic sinking. And it's funny you see that, like, if you look at Pride Rock and like maybe like a photo of the Titanic sinking.
It's that L shape, yeah.
Yeah, that L shape. It's like it's going into the water, and it just looks iconic. Like it's just an amazing. So, from the opening sunset to the procession of animals, Gaskill focused on capturing nature's contrasting macro and micro perspectives. Like you see that where it's like you see the ants on the branch and they're all marching, and then it's like you've got, I think it's the wildebeest or like the herd moving in the beginning of the film. So I can see where he was going from that. So he was drawing inspiration from N.C. White's paintings, frequently sketched bold images and utilized innovative cinematography for two-dimensional animation. The landscape itself is so beautiful, moving, and monumental. He explains it acts like a character. I wanted to honor that by avoiding excessive stylization and not turning it into a cartoon. And I think that was the smart choice. Like, you're going for that beautiful scenery at the beginning and to really suck us in to the world. I think that affected me more. And then later on allows you to get a little bit more cartoony with some of the musical numbers and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. No, I definitely agree.
So after finalizing the characters, animators sketched scenes in pencil, which then when they were scanned into a computer animation production system, relatively new Disney innovation at the time. A team of painters digitally colored the sketches. The completed animations were then superimposed onto painted layered backgrounds and transferred to the film. All these processes occurred simultaneously, with the directors monitoring progress and providing feedback on daily outputs. Fucking A, man. Animation is hard.
It takes years to do one scene. I don't think people really truly realize that either.
Yeah, because you think about film, and film is hard too, but you have real places, controlled sets. Like, when you're dealing with something that isn't even there yet and you have to create it all from scratch, that's hard. That's really hard. So
it really is. God, and it's such a testament. Like, that's why I have such a respect and admiration for animators, man. Just the things that they're able to do, it blows my mind.
I really do, man. And obviously, the good thing with technology nowadays, they've certainly made it easier for animation to happen and for the animators to work faster and more efficiently. But oh man, I just I can't get over how hard it must have been back then. Obviously you think of it, this is the 90s. Can you only imagine how hard it was for Walt back in the day too? So yeah, it's incredible. But anyways, back to this. One of the most challenging and technically impressive scenes the animation team created was obviously the wildebeest stampede leading to Mufasa's death. For over a year, artists struggled to depict herds charging down a ravine, but according to artistic coordinator Randy Fulmer, just looked awful. Eventually, senior animator Ruben Aquino conceived the idea to draw the wildebeest run cycle, completing 12 sketches in 4 hours. Meanwhile, artistic supervisors Scott Johnston and a team of CGI engineers at Disney were developing a new 3D coding technology to simulate herd behavior by replicating and multiplying a single drawing of the cycle. That's impressive. They programmed the lone galloping wildebeest into the system and copied it hundreds of times, adjusting the run cycles to different intervals to mimic a full stampede. If you put an obstruction in their path, they'll, as a herd, move around it. Gaskell explains. That's incredible. So, equally crucial to capturing the herd's fluid movement was portraying the dusty atmosphere. The special effects team used the computer to add multiple layers of dirt, creating a foggy effect. You could have really thick dust at the base of the scene, gradually becoming lighter as it rose into the air, explained Fulmer, who significantly contributed to the film's atmospheric quality. And even though the movie is rooted in realism, some of the most memorable and visually striking scenes, though, they occur to be more fantastical and cartoonish and abstract musical numbers. So this starts with I Just Can't Wait to Be King, but you also have Scar's Be Prepared. Regarding Scards be prepared, though, because we definitely got some inspiration for that. Allers acknowledges that the imagery was directly inspired, and this is pretty obvious for anybody watching this, any film buff, by Leni Riefenstahl's 1935 Nazi propaganda film Triumph of the Will. And
Ooh.
pretty obvious when you think about it. He adds at the end, like, we created what we call Carnival in Hell, where the landscape erupts and transforms into a vibrant carnival of colors with rising land masses. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you see obviously the lion or the hyenas marching, like they're marching like,
Dude, they're Nazis.
yeah, they're Nazis basically. All right. In the final months of production in 1994, the creative team encountered an unexpected challenge: the Northridge earthquakes in LA. So obviously, Disney being out here and production being heavy out here in LA, when there's a big earthquake like that, and affects a lot of different things. Destroying major freeways, preventing many animators from commuting or returning home for several days. Some of the animators took trains, others worked from home. Some stayed and bathed at the studio. After the initial earthquake, there was a series of aftershocks too, and it really was unsettling. Allers is recalling, he's like, Rob and I would be in the editorial in this little room, still editing on the film. He's like, we'd had metal racks with reels of films on the wall during the aftershock. The walls would shake and the reels would rattle in their shells. Like, that's scary. That's scary. But yeah, I could go on with this production, but I wanted to limit it to some of the cooler stuff that I thought was part of this. But that's pretty much it as far as the production goes. So, was released, obviously, we talked about in June of 1994, June 15th.
Yes.
Huge box office numbers. $312 million in the domestic box office.
It made just under $1 billion worldwide too, which is insane for 94 numbers. Like coming in 916 million, something like that, is for 94. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, that's what you have when you have the power of Disney. Matt, you just want to take a guess on where that falls in 1994 as far as what place it would be?
Well, I know Forrest Gump came out this year too, and that was a big hit. I feel like it's like number. I'll just say number 5. I feel like it feels like that's a safe number.
That's, you're being a little too critical, man. Number 1. This was number 1.
It was the number 1.
Yeah.
Was it? I guess I shouldn't be surprised because this like took everybody and their kids by storm. I should have known, but for some reason I figured like Forrest Gump or something random would have taken it for some reason. But that's crazy.
Yeah. 312 was number 1 in the domestic gross, total gross overall. I think Forrest Gump beats it out because Forrest Gump was like, everybody owned that DVD and everything. Though Lion King probably had a lot of that too. Everybody owning the VHS. So yeah, it was number 1. Forrest Gump wasn't that far behind though. I will say that. It was number 2 that year, Forrest Gump. So when we do Forrest Gump in a couple weeks, spoiler alert, that's number 2. So we won't be asking you that question, Matt. I'll ask you other questions instead. But yeah, it was number 1 for this year. Critical reception, we look at it, 88 on Metacritic, 93 on Rotten Tomatoes. That is the critical score. Actually, no, it was 92. It was the critical score. 93 is the audience score. Pretty understandable why everybody be aligned on that one. So, and then obviously we alluded to this earlier. Elton John wins the Oscar for "Can You Feel the Love Tonight." He was
as he should.
Yeah, absolutely. He was also nominated for Best Original Song for "Circle of Life" and Hakuna Matata as well. And then other winner too, Elton John won Best Original Song. Best score was Hans Zimmer.
Oh yes, I always forget he did this too. Like I always forget he did.
I mean, you can hear it in like the way the drums are and everything. Like,
yeah, I mean, once you start to listen, you're like, oh yeah, no, this makes sense. But I always forget.
Totally a Hans Zimmer film. So, all right, cool. Let's dive into the categories. Best scene. I mean,
it's hard to pick one because there's a lot of them in this.
Yeah, and I gave a couple on here, but I
do think I have mine though.
I mean, the opening credits are fucking amazing. Like they really suck you in. As far, I guess they're not even opening
All the
credits.
animals bowing and like
It's-
the holding up Simba for everybody in Pride Rock to see this, the heir to the throne, if you will. And
Yeah, the circle of
Hills.
life. It's just
yeah, dude.
you get that song too. It's so beautiful. And then as we talked about like some of in the production stuff, like the animation that went into that and how realistic it looked. I'd never seen anything like it. When you see, I think there's that one shot, like the aerial shot where it's like you see the birds and everything. Like that was so impressed upon me as a kid, and I was just like, I loved that. And I'm like, this looks so real. And for what they can do, and even though I knew it was animation, it was just amazing to look at. So I love that. I think some of the other good scenes, though, I mean, we're getting to the musical numbers when we talk about best scene too. It's almost like, you know, they're the
I
same.
have a best scene that doesn't involve a musical number, actually.
Oh, okay, which one?
You know the scene where the fire's raging, Scar and Simba are fighting, and it's that slow motion. They're blow for blow. Something about that way that scene is shot, where Simba and Scar are just like toe to toe. It's slow motion. They're each, with their paws straight up, right hook, right hook. Something about that scene, man. It's just powerful to me. It was a long time coming. It's just two behemoths, these lions fighting, and Simba, who's like always been this happy go lucky lion throughout the entire movie. Like he's like a young naive kid. Now we kind of grew up with him when he's singing Hakuna Matata with Timon and Pumbaa, and now all of a sudden he's in the fight, man, in the fire. It's the whole scenery of it all. The stage is set, and that scene I think might actually be my favorite one.
It really is so cool. And I remember, like, as a kid, I'm like pumped up. I'm like, yeah, get him. Like, that's obviously I'm rooting for Simba
obviously
to win. So, like, and because I loved Mufasa at the beginning, like I was like, oh, this is my hero. But yeah, it's just
revenge.
Yeah, you're like, get him, obviously. So I loved it. I think that's a great scene. So that's your best scene, or your favorite?
I'm gonna go with that one because it's musical numbers is like picking your favorite child. So I'm gonna go with a non-musical one for that, just for the power behind the scene. Like I said, with Simba and the shot of it, of the dark and the contrasting lights. Yeah, that one's my favorite.
I do like that. Another good one that I like is the one with Rafiki when he meets Simba, and Simba's in exile there, and he shows him like his father's the reflection. He's like, that's just the reflection. He's like, no, he's in you. Like I like that scene a lot. I think that gets me now. And then the other big one that I like too, though, I mean, this is my favorite one because I think it just technically it looks amazing, and I think it's the best scene in the movie is the wildebeest stampede.
That's fair. It's the most soul crushing for sure.
Yeah, I mean it might crush me. You know what I've loved too is like we've talked about this earlier about how you were talking about how crushes you differently as a parent, but this is something I saw on TikTok. It was like, have you seen the dog reactions to some of these? And like the dog is reacting to this scene. I was like, oh my god.
If you got an animal, yeah, like if an animal's even like reacting to something like this, you got something there.
Yeah. My dog just wouldn't react to that. He reacts.
My dogs are too dumb. They don't react to TV at all.
No, mine does. He's terrified of some shows. Like we've the dragon shows he's terrified of. He's terrified of the dragons.
Oh yeah.
And he's terrified of anything with gunshots in it too. So doesn't like that. Big fan of Love Island UK though. Loves it.
I've actually seen that too, which is hilarious.
Oh dude, new season's back. Love Island UK.
Oh my gosh, we love our trash television in this house.
Oh, it's my favorite. I love it. Way better. The UK version, by the way, way better than the US.
It's way better. 100% better. Absolutely agree.
Anyways, all right. What age the best? I mean,
wait, did we do our quotable line?
Oh, sorry. Quotable lines. I'm skipping ahead here
because I've got one that you didn't put on here.
All right, cool. Because this isn't like a quotable line movie. I would say, like,
are you kidding me?
I don't know, man. Like it's
They called me Mr. Pig.
So
That one right there.
So
yeah.
that's a quote from another movie. I forget what it is, but
talking to me.
shit, I forget what movie it is.
I forget too. I know what it is. But
Yeah, it's a quote from another movie, and it's gonna drive me nuts now. But anyways, so that's a reference as well, and that's a good one. I did leave that off. I think really the one is like the one with Mufasa, where he's like, which has become a meme now too. But everything you see exists together.
Everything you see exists together in a delicate balance. As king, you need to understand that balance and respect all the creatures, from the crawling ant to the leaping antelope.
Dad, don't we eat the antelope?
Yes, Simba, but let me explain. When we die, our bodies become the grass, and the antelope eat the grass. And so, we are all connected in the great circle of life.
I like that whole little spiel there, and obviously when you get James Earl Jones saying it, it's like the voice of God saying it basically. So it sounds amazing. And I also just like this throwaway one from Scar being like, "I'm surrounded by idiots." I love that one.
That one's good. I also like when after Nala, like Simba breaks up when Nala is trying to eat Pumbaa, and Timon's like, you know him, and he knows you, and she's trying to eat him, and everybody's okay with this.
Whoa, time out. Let me get this straight. You know her, she knows you, but she wants to eat him, and everybody's okay with this? Did I miss something?
That was a good one.
Like there are a lot of like good heaters in there, again, like good lines, but Scar again, well, I'll be a monkey's uncle, just like, or I killed Mufasa, and just that's another one. And oh man, I mean, it really is like the more you kind of think about it, the more quotes you could just really pull from this, damn near line for line.
I mean, well, if you're gonna go with some of the Scar ones, "Long live the king."
Scar! Brother, help me!
Long live the king.
Yeah.
That just hits. That one hits so good.
It does.
Yeah. I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it, I might go with that one. "Long live the king."
That's a good one.
It's great, and then Jeremy Irons delivering the line is so perfect. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that. That's my favorite one.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I'm sticking with they call me Mr. Pig, because I like to quote that one more often than probably any adult should.
Yeah, it's a good one. All right, what age the best? I mean, everything. Honestly, Matt.
Honestly, it's hard to pick one thing. It really is.
Before we even dive into what age the best, I'm just gonna preemptively do this. We're not doing what age the worst, because there's nothing to talk about. There's nothing that aged badly in this movie. And
there isn't. The animation holds up. The music holds up. Like I don't know what to choose. I don't have an answer for you for this one, because the entire movie has aged the best.
Yeah, it really does. Because to contrast what aged the best, you have to have something that what aged the worst, and nothing aged badly. So I would say let's just say what we like the best or has withstood the test of time. Maybe, you want to go to Hans Zimmer's score. Sure. Like I think Hans Zimmer's score anytime will age beautifully. I think, when you go with the Elton John musical numbers, Circle of Life, Can You Feel the Love Tonight? I Just Can't Wait to Be King, like all of that. I love it. I think for me it's, maybe it's some of like the animation, just because that animation it's not something you see nowadays. Like it's just very different. So I like the animation. I'm going to go with that.
All right. That's fair. I'll say music. Just if I had a gun to my head and they made me choose one thing, I'll say the music, because you chose animation. That's the reason why, because I would definitely between those two. So I'll go music just for the sake of argument.
Yeah, that's fine. So, All right, we'll dive into this one. If you had a Rick and Morty interdimensional cable box, what version of this movie would you like to see? So I didn't find anything about the casting, so I really don't have a direction to take it in as far as that goes. But I will say this, because it's a Rick and Morty interdimensional cable box, we're really not restricted by anything. So I would like to see a real version of real lines talking, because if it's
You got
interdimensional
that with Jon Favreau.
No, it's an interdimensional. No, I'm not talking about. I am not talking about the 2019 version. This drove me bananas when people would be like, "Oh, the live action one." Idiots! It's still animation. It's not real lions. All right. Want to see real lions talking? That's what I want to see. Interdimensional cable box. Write it down. Real lions. That's what I'm doing.
All right.
Same voice actors.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't know. I don't know because I don't want to see another version of this movie.
I know.
Nothing aged bad. I don't know. Real lions. Like, I guess. Okay, actually, there is something. There was something I had written, and originally, what was it? It was. I think Rafiki was supposed to actually be a cheetah or something along those lines.
Interesting. Okay. So we're talking
so
like
I was researching this. Yes, that Rafiki was supposed to be like a cheetah. Yeah. So when the brainstorming began, Rafiki was a cheetah and Scar was leading a pack of baboons and not hyenas. So I am going to go ahead and go with that answer just because I'm curious to see how Rafiki being this wisdom-filled cheetah would be, and then like a lion versus baboon fight. Something about that sounds very visceral.
Yeah, that does sound. Cool.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
I mean, that does sound pretty cool. It'll be different.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I like that. All right, standout performances. I mean, to me, there's one. I actually love all of these, but I mean, Rowan.
I think I'll go Jeremy Irons.
Yeah, Jeremy Irons is like, he's got to be it. So,
I think.
Yeah, it's Jeremy Irons.
I mean, it's something about his smooth voice, dude. Like, it's so menacing, but he never raises his voice, but he gets the menacing fear factor across with just the silkiness within his voice.
His, like, the way he speaks, how proper he is, but also how menacing he can sound at the same time is what makes Jeremy Irons a great villain actor. So when you think about this, and I more recently, I love Jeremy Irons in. Did you see the Watchmen, the HBO series when he was Ozymandias?
Yes.
Amazing.
I
Amazing.
did. I love Jeremy Irons.
Yeah. So he's perfect for those sorts of characters that have this properness to them, but this menacing behind them too. But
yeah,
I can't not mention James Earl Jones as Mufasa because his voice is so perfect for it. Talk about great villain voice actors. There we go.
Yeah.
And then I love Rowan Atkinson as Zazu. Talk about somebody.
Zazu.
Talk about somebody who made a career out of not speaking and knocks it out of the park when he does. So.
And he's so elegant too. There's something like elegant yet like idiotic about Zazu's voice that's so endearing.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. That's why he's perfect. Like as sort of this servant or whatever.
He's like the hand of the king.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, he's like the hand of the king for the Lion King.
Sorry. Good news though, he doesn't get his head cut off at least.
Yes, yeah. It's not that kind of show. Or movie for that matter. But yeah, he's that's what he is. Yeah, he's like sort of Mustafa's apprentice or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's great for that because you get so many good comedic moments with him as well. So, and it's so funny though, Rowan Atkinson. You understand when he speaks though in how well he plays Zazu.
Yeah.
why he had to limit Mr. Bean's ability to speak to make it like make that character as funny as he could for as long as he could, because the character's supposed to be kind of silly and, you know, I guess
Like
eccentric.
dumb almost.
He's eccentric,
Yeah.
and just I don't know. There's something weird about him too, but it's funny. But if he spoke and he spoke in Rowan Atkinson's voice, I don't know how funny he would be. So
Yeah, that's fair.
so it's one of those things where I'm like, props to you, man. You almost got. It's like you got that beautiful voice, you might as well use it. But then I'm like, no, he picks his spots and he does an animation with Zazu, and guess what? He can not be in front of the camera speaking and do something like this and be a voice actor, and it's not going to ruin his character going down the line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, smart choice. All right, who gets an Oscar?
Well, I mean, if the standout performance is Jeremy Irons, I'm going to go give the Oscar to Jeremy Irons.
We got him. Obviously, we've got 2 Oscar winners already in the film with Elton John and
We
Hans
do.
Zimmer. So,
James Earl Jones isn't in it enough. So I'm going to give it, no, again, Jeremy Irons for the reasons we said, man. Like, he's such a presence in just everything that he does. He's so like nonchalant, but also like scary that, no, I got to go Jeremy Irons, man.
is Scar a top? Is he like a top 5 Disney villain, you think?
Oh, without a doubt, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, yes.
Well, let's dive into this.
Gaslit.
Let's dive into this and we'll talk about it. Who would you put as your top 5? This is just off the top of your head. And, you know, I'm not compiling a list like I normally do.
Ooh, man, that's a good one. All right, Sid in no particular order. Sid from Toy Story. Does Pixar count, or does
Oh no,
that's
we're
part of
counting
it?
Pixar because I've got
Okay.
I've got another one, not Sid, who's a Toy Story
Okay,
villain for
well,
me.
Sid blows up toys and is a psychopath, so I'm giving him that one. I gotta go Scar. Ooh, man, these are good. I mean, Ursula does some pretty jacked up things in Little Mermaid, so that's pretty good. God, this is tough. Disney villain. Oh, okay. I will give it to Prince Hans and Frozen because that dude was certifiably insane. He tricks Anna into going to marry him, and then he turns around and says, "Nobody would ever love you." Like, dang, dude, that was tough. So I gotta go Hans. My dude is messed up.
Calculating
Number
right there.
5. Number 5 is tough. Who would be my number 5 Disney villain of all time? Ah, man. Can I say Darth Vader because technically Star Wars is Disney?
No.
All right, fine. Dude, I don't know a 5th one. That's a really hard one.
What about
Don't know.
not Jafar from Aladdin or
I guess yeah. I'm trying to rack my brain. I was thinking Hades almost.
Oh, that's a good one.
But I think I'm gonna go Hades. I like Hades, but Hades and Jafar are about the same to me. And I'll go Jafar because I think what Jafar is able to do as far as the Sultan and all of that, he plays some really good mind games, and then he also turns into a giant snake. So yeah, I'll go that.
Jafar's good. He's a good villain. My top 5, yeah, Scar's in the top 5, and this is in no particular order. Dude, Lotso from Toy Story 3.
Oh yes, I forgot that evil ass bear. Oh my god, talk about psychopath.
Yep, Lotso's a good one. Dude, Toy Story's had some great villains between him and the Prospector in the second one. I like him as a villain too. Voiced by Kelsey Grammer as the Prospector in that.
Yes.
So he was good. Kelsey Grammer, great villain voice actor, Sideshow Bob as well, and for The Simpsons. So, yeah. So I'd say Scar, Lotso. It's tough. I actually might put what's his face on there as well too. I am gonna put the Prospector on there.
Okay.
He was a good villain. Like, he really was. He tries to sabotage Woody getting back together with
his
Andy.
girl, Jesse.
No, with Andy.
Oh, with Andy.
So-
Sorry, you're right.
He tries to sabotage that because he wants to go to a fucking museum and be preserved. Like, it's so weird. So those three, I do like Jafar as a good villain too. And then my number one by a long shot, Syndrome from The Incredibles.
Oh, The Incredibles.
Do you know how many superheroes he kills in that? Like, remember when the big reveal's coming of like all the superheroes are dead? We just think they're all in hiding, but they're all dead because Syndrome is killing them. Like, that's literally
that's right.
That's so messed up.
How did I forget that? You're 100% right. And he's also like, your apologies are too late. And again, like someone who needed a hug as a kid. Dude, that's a good one. That's really good.
Yeah, Syndrome's fucked up, man. I've been thinking about that one a long time. I'm like, dude, he's fucked up.
Been on this one for a while.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we got sidetracked on the categories, but anyways, music moment.
Hakuna Matata. I love that song.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Hakuna Matata. It's so upbeat. If you're in the worst mood that day, you put on Hakuna Matata, you legitimately, it calms me down. And I find myself in such better mood, and you can't help but sing at the same time. So I'm going Hakuna Matata.
Yeah, same. I mean, it's a good one. I mean, and I love Nathan Lane. He's hilarious. Does great Broadway and musical numbers and stuff. So I love Nathan Lane. He's hilarious.
Same.
Yeah, I like that one. I was gonna choose Circle of Life, but I think I'm gonna go Hakuna Matata. I think that one speaks to me the most. Double feature. This is a tough one because, you know, you can go so many different routes on this. You could stick with like sort of the 90s Renaissance and do maybe a pivot from this to Aladdin. And I think that fits in very well. Like, those two would be a good one to double feature together. Or you could pivot it and do like the Shakespeare adaptation double feature, you know? Maybe do another Hamlet one, or even just go for 10 Things I Hate About You and stick with the Shakespeare comedies.
I'm gonna do Lion King 1.5 though, because it's so underrated and not talked about enough that I'm gonna say Lion King 1.5.
Lion King 1. I've never seen it, so
see, there you go.
I think
you gotta watch it. It's on Disney Plus. Just saying.
Okay, all right. I mean, we are. Well, no, we do have another episode of Love Island to watch tonight, but we've got. Oh my goodness! All right, who wins the day? I'll tell you who fucking wins the day. Disney. Disney wins the day.
Wrong. You know who wins the day? Parents everywhere in the 90s who just needed a break, and then they could put on The Lion King on VHS, and their kids would just sit there like zombies, and they can catch that nap. They could, because the kids are so enthralled with The Lion King, and even parents today that can do the same with their kids. But you're real, like, on a serious note, yeah, dude, Disney wins the day. Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on.
Disney makes $1 billion, they win the day. So
yeah, come on.
I mean, yeah, Disney won. Disney won on that one.
They did.
They pretty much won the 90s for that matter. And they pretty much won all entertainment. Let's just go there. So, all right. That does it. Time for the letterbox score. I get a feeling we might be aligned on this one again. So, I'll kick it off. It's a 5 for me. Like,
it is. It's a 5. It's no surprise there. Yeah. There's no anticipation. It's a 5.
It's a 5. Like, this is a fucking perfect movie. I wouldn't say like I'm the biggest fan of musicals. I like musicals. I don't love them, but it's everything in a musical that I could want. Like, great music numbers. It doesn't take away it is not distracting from the story. It's woven in perfectly and so entertaining, and the animation is amazing. The voice casting is great. Like, I don't have any quibbles about the voice casting. I mean, come on, when you got Whoopi Goldberg and Cheech Marin as one of the fucking hyenas, like, come on, can't go wrong with that. So
you literally, there's not a single complaint. Not a single complaint.
I can't say anything bad about this movie, and I don't want to try to. So, yeah, it's a 5. All the way.
Yeah. Easy. That was one of the easier ones we've had to do, without a doubt.
Yeah, we kind of knew right off the bat. All right. That does it for this episode of the Real Buffs. That does it for The Lion King. So, next week, or in a couple weeks, I'm staggering the weeks now because I just got too much going on. But
we have a lot happening. Yes, there's a lot. We're continuing to do this. Don't fret. We got you. However, there's a lot going on.
Life.
So I mean,
life
finds a way.
Love Island. I got Love Island episodes to watch. I'm just kidding.
I got a big cruise in like 27 days. I'll be gone for 2 weeks there.
Damn, man.
Yeah.
All right. So send your applications into hosts at therealbuffspod.com. That's where you can.
I'm going in hiding. You'll never find me again. Good luck.
Yeah, that does it for this episode. Next week or next couple weeks, like I said, we're going to be looking at another 1994 film that is an absolute banger and a classic. And we may or may not have talked about it on this podcast. I'll play the trailer after this. But Matt, where can people find you?
Oh man, I have been less active on socials lately, but the best place to find me is on just Hops Geek News is the social media account that I'm on the most. That's the other show that I do, because there's 85 social media accounts out there now. That's just the easiest place. Go there. Or if you want to find my personal stuff, Matthew Tyler, 2 R's because I'm a basic bitch. Find me there as well. And come hang, man. Celtics champions, by the way. Just a little tidbit out there. Celtics are the champs. And you can see me talking about sports most often, complaining about something.
Yeah, you're a big sports guy on the X platform or Twitter platform.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can find me. My personal one is at Sir_Charles_Mac. The account that we have for the podcast is The Real Buffs at Instagram. So usually that's where I am. Been a little less active on the socials, but I'll start that back up again. So find us there. Find us on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, anywhere your podcasts can be found. Leave us a review, please. But on behalf of the Real Buffs, I am Charlie.
And I'm Matt.
And thank you, and we'll talk to you again soon.
How'd it go at the convention, honey?
You were the big hit of the show. It's fantastic. I love the computer business.
For 15 years, Harry Tasker's been leading a double life.
Mr. President, one of our best men is inside.
Transmitting now.
Right on time.
I don't believe I've met you before.
Rehnquist. Harry Rehnquist.
Listen to the following code word. Helen. Helen.
Now, they're about to collide.
What's your exit strategy?
I'm gonna walk right out of the front gate.
May I see your invitation, please?
Sure. Here's my invitation.
Yeah, that worked good. Right out the old front gate.
Can you lean back a second?
Mr. Tasker's office.
Hi, it's Helen. Is he in?
Harry's in a sales meeting, Mrs. Tasker.
It's not like he's saving the world or anything.
Well, see, this is the problem with terrorists. They're really inconsiderate when it comes to people's schedules. Could you press the button for the top floor, please?
Hi, Helen. Harry forgot something back at the office.
Whenever I can't sleep, I just ask him to tell me about his day. 6 seconds and I'm out.
Maybe it's just that you're not in touch with your feminine side.
Harry! What were you doing there?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you. Do you know what this is? It's a snow cone maker. Is it a water heater?
From James Cameron, director of Aliens and T2. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It's a Soviet Mirv 6 from an SS-22N launch vehicle.
I married Rambo.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Have you ever killed anyone?
Yeah, but they were all bad.
True Lies.
What can I say? I'm a spy.